Hey guys, my name is Matsumo, and welcome to our episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I'll give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question for today is, would you like Ubisoft to add a campaign into Rainbow Six Siege? Well, I don't know about you guys, but I would love to have a single-player experience in this game. From the unique mechanics to the tactical gameplay, different locations all over the world, I think if Ubisoft put their mind to it, they could create something really, really cool. Now, the reason why I answered today's question is that I don't think this is out of the realm of possibility. You guys probably know that there is an infected game mode coming very shortly with this next DLC. Ubisoft has spent a lot of time to create a brand new game mode that's going to be here for a limited amount of time, and it's going to be a completely new experience. I'm assuming that Ubisoft has plans of doing more of these events in the future. Well, what if instead of doing more zombie modes, they create and spend that time and resources into a part 1 of a campaign? They start to tell the story of all these operators that we love. Maybe we get this, maybe we get the backstory of Ash and the operators that she's worked with over the years. And while I realize that this would be a pretty big investment on the part of Ubisoft, because while this new zombie mode will cost a pretty penny, I imagine hiring new voice actors, writing a script, introducing new animations, maybe having different cutscenes, like all of that adds up, but I really think it would pay off in the end. I'm not really into marketing, but I would guess that if they announced that they were bringing in, part 1 of their story missions where they start to introduce all of these characters, not only would that bring in people that haven't played in a while, but also could get people to finally start and play Rainbow Six Siege for the very first time. They were intimidated by its multiplayer only aspect. It's now got a single player. They can discover if this is a game for them, have something that they can enjoy, and finally make the plunge and play this fantastic game. They could even take it a step further and make it co-op. They're doing it with the infected. Why not do it for a, single player, or in this case, a co-op mission? That could be really exciting. And so all in all, I love this idea. I would be very surprised if they gave us a 6 to 10 hour campaign out of nowhere. Like, I don't think that that's gonna happen, but the fact that they're experimenting with these events, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we do start to see some story missions in the future. The next question comes from Kyle, and it is, do you think that Calves' pistol needs a damage nerf? She seems overpowered right now. Well, I will admit that Cav is pretty terrifying right now. Who would have thought by reducing the recoil of all the pistols across the board would have been a gigantic buff to someone who pretty much uses her pistol exclusively? On top of that, a couple of patches ago, if my memory is right, they also increased her damage at a distance as well. Her damage doesn't fall off as quickly, and so that on top of having basically an easier time at lining up shots because you're not dealing with that visual recoil obstructing your vision, it makes it a lot easier to be precise and do a lot of damage at people from long range. And so because of these things, it has made her a much scarier operator in the right hands and in the right situation. That's the thing though. Not only do I think that Cav requires a lot more on the part of the player to perform properly, but also she's only useful in the right situations. On top of that, she doesn't really have any team benefit other than getting those sneaky kills. If she's able to get interrogation off, like, that's gigantic, but a lot of times that just simply doesn't happen as long as she's going against a team that is working together and is coordinated. She has to get those interrogations off to really get the full use out of her kits. If you played as Jaeger, for example, you have arguably a much better weapon. You have barbed wire, which is one of the best gadgets in the game, and you also have his ADS, which is also one of the best gadgets in the game. Jaeger simply has more of a presence on the map gadget-wise, and I would even say weapon-wise a lot of the time, because of his kits. And so I think it makes sense that Cav should be really good at those stealthy takedowns, because that is entirely what her kit is designed around. Now, with that being said, I also wouldn't be surprised if they slightly tuned her damage down at a distance. Cav is meant to take people down up close, and it seems like she's a bit too effective at long range. You would think that she would need to switch on over to a primary weapon, but that doesn't really seem to be a requirement right now because of those pistol changes. And so even though I think that she's not overpowered, I don't think that she's crazy good, I also wouldn't be surprised if they slightly tuned down that damage at a distance. The next question is, what do you think about Jackal's drone also having the ability to see enemy footsteps but can't scan them? So some of you might know that I really like to play as Jackal. I find his gadget to be a lot of fun, not necessarily because I'm able to scan someone's footprints and then ping their location, but actually use the footprint information based off the color to seek someone out and then take them down. The issue with that mechanic, though, is that a lot of the times you'll be following the bread trail and then you'll round the corner not realizing that those footprints just end right around the corner and then they catch you by surprise. And so one way that Ubisoft could kind of work around this weakness is by giving the same ability to his drone. Now, the real question is, though, is this kind of buff needed? You should really just be scanning his footprints doing that because that solves that problem that we just talked about. The one thing I would like to see changed about him, though, is to remove the filter when he has his gadget activated. When you are trying to search for footprints, it becomes much more difficult to see what's going on around you. The gadget, for whatever reason, darkens every single corner. It makes it harder to know, oh, that's actually an enemy in there. And so essentially what Jackal has become is that you activate his gadget, you find the footprints, and then you scan them, and then you deactivate it just so you can actually see what's going on around you. I would love to have that visor on for a majority of the match. It already has the drawback where if you take any damage, it goes all fuzzy on you, so that's a huge drawback. Why does it need to have this darkened tint to it as well? And so in general, if I had to make any changes to Jackal, that would be the one that I would make. The next question is, do you think that some of the maps aren't as competitive as before? A lot of people have been talking about Clubhouse and Cafe. Well, I don't know if I'd go as far to say that they're not competitive because I believe that they are. At least for two of the objectives. If you're on offense and defense and you're on that 1 points, it seems like it's relatively well balanced. The problem with those maps, and it's not just exclusive to them, this is an issue on a wide variety of them, I would put Oregon in this category, it's usually those two objectives are the only smart ones to play on defense because if you pick any other, you're gonna have a hard time and it really favors the offensive team. To give an example of this, if you're playing on Clubhouse, really the only feasible option on defense is to play down below in the basement or to defend the bar. If you choose the cash room or the bedroom, while it's not impossible to win there, like I've seen it done, you're putting yourself at a severe disadvantage. There just isn't enough hiding spots and places for you to roam around to slow down their progress. As soon as they open up one of those side walls or multiple side walls, they have a clear line of sight on everything in that objective except for maybe the bathroom, but as soon as they clear that out or put a smoke down, you're gonna have a really hard time retaking that diffuser. And so I'm assuming that's where all of this discussion is coming from. They're not inherently bad maps, they're a lot of fun, they can be competitive, but only certain parts of them. And so this is where I'm hoping that Ubisoft is going to step in and start to rework some of these objectives. Now I realize that this is a bit controversial because some people actually really like to defend in the cash room. They like defending in the bedroom because they find it to be very unique. They like to be the underdog. But what I'm hoping for is that because Ubisoft has announced that they have plans to rework some of these maps, that they are going to look at Cafe, Clubhouse, Oregon, see that, hey, 2 out of the 4 are not working. Let's kind of make some changes here to improve upon them. They could go to the extreme and completely rework one part of the map. Cafe down below in the kitchen, I think, is a perfect candidate for a complete rework. They could do subtle things like adding in different walls, removing walls, maybe making some walls indestructible, but just learning from all of the experience that they've had over these last couple of years, realize that yes, some of these objectives need some tuning and make those improvements. That way, when we do play on these maps, we have more variety. There are more options. We can mix it up and it isn't just the same 2 objectives every single time. The next question comes from Jack and it is, what do you think about Ubisoft ever implementing third person into Siege just like the old Rainbow Six games? So I don't have any problems with third person games, especially if they're single player, but this would not work in Siege whatsoever. Because of the one-shot headshot mechanic, it would seem almost impossible for offense to get anywhere near the objective. Because the third-person perspective allows you to see around walls, all you need to do is hide behind said wall, and then wait for anyone to be foolish enough to round the corner. You know exactly where they are. They have no idea where you are. You round the corner, you line up the headshot, and take them down instantaneously. I mean, the peeker's advantage is already pretty severe in Siege. People round the corners at Mach 5 and take you down. Imagine now, they always know where you are because of that third-person perspective. And so it's for those very reasons why I do not think this would ever happen for Rainbow Six Siege. The maps are not designed around it, the game mechanics are not designed around a third-person mode, and I just don't think that it would work. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's episode of Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Would you love to see Ubisoft start to dabble into some small single-player campaigns? Do you think that that's a waste of resources? Let me know down below. As always, if you would like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.